right, we're live. We're live. That's right, boys. We're live for our first ever live podcast. I'm in the pub. I was going to go get a beer, but I didn't get the beer. We are live. I've got 3 Roverseas mafiosos standing by in a second, of course. But before that, big shout out to Blue Rose Capital, of course, for sponsoring this podcast. Fantastic stuff. And of course, while you're here now, of course, watching the live podcast, make sure you get any questions in you want to pitch to me and, of course, the panel about Rovers form, Rovers transfers. Get them in the chat and I'll fling them to them a little bit later on. So we are going to try and jump into the vortex here and say hello to who do we have? We have, of course, Holmesy coming at you. Let me have a look, actually. Where are you? Yes, there you are, coming at you from South Africa, of course. How is it over right there? How is it in South Africa for you right now?
Well, where I am down in the Cape, it's a bit of a miserable winter. We've had a bit of rainy weather, sort of going hand in hand with Blackburn support performance yesterday. But yeah, all good this side. Apart from Blackburn losing, we beat Australia in the rugby, so that was good news. But yeah, all good down here at the southern tip of Africa.
All right. Also alongside you have, of course, well, not alongside you, but also in the Zoom house, we have Jacob Ward in the house. How are you doing? Of course, you were there yesterday for Bristol City. We'll talk about that in a minute. Are you there? Say hello.
Hello. I'm here, yes. No, just still recovering from that performance yesterday. It was pretty woeful, wasn't it?
It was pretty woeful. Of course, you've been there and thereabouts. You've seen, hopefully a bit of progress for Rovers performances. But you were there, Blackpool as well, right?
Yeah, I did Blackpool away as well. That was a lot better performance than yesterday. Yesterday was quite similar to the Stoke performance, weren't it? I think 3-2 really flattered us in the end.
Yeah, it was. It made it look much more civilised scoreline. Of course, alongside you, we'd also have Alexander Haben, of course, is the Southern Rover. Alex, how are you doing? How are you feeling after yesterday's result?
I'm okay. I mean, I'm feeling more sort of realistic about where we are in terms of the squad and after the transfer window. But yeah, it was disappointing. I think we got overran quite clearly in midfield, especially, and central defence. Defensively, we weren't strong enough. But yeah, I'm still optimistic in the long run. But yeah, I didn't see all of the game. I'm happy to say I missed 2 of the Bristol City goals. Very happy, and I'm not desperate to see them anytime soon. But the first goal was just abysmal. It was just like a hot knife through butter for Bristol City. We were the butter. I'm happy to erase that memory, and I'm happy not to see their other 2 goals. But yes, we were miles apart yesterday. 3-2. It doesn't really. It doesn't tell you the story. 3-2. It could have been a lot more goals for Bristol City. So we were fortunate in that respect.
Yeah. Of course, at least we had some reason to smile. Diaz staying, of course. Transfer windows closed, and we'll get to him in a bit more detail a little bit later on. But of course, I know a lot of us, including myself, might be a little bit. I'm not too overjoyed with looking back on our transfer window now after one day. I do think that we could have benefited from some more experienced players coming in. But the fact that we've still got Diaz, a recognised goal scorer at this level, will hopefully put us a little bit further away from any relegation concerns that we may have lying in the back of our minds. Of course, we have been relegated to League One over the past few years, so we now know that is actually a possibility for Blackburn Rovers. It's not going to be something that's going to come out of nowhere and surprise us that we could get relegated. I'm not saying that we are. I'm not saying that we're a candidate for relegation, but the fact that we have got relegated down to League One before, it does give us the possibility that we could also be in a.
I like to
say again.
I like to think it's not that bad.
Well, no, but you know, it does look a little worrying. For me, it looks a little worrying at the moment. Again, it is a journey, it's a transition, it is a project, and I've got some underlying doubt, and it's just because of what happened recently over the past 4, 5, 6 years ago now. You know, we aren't bulletproof. We're not bulletproof. We can get relegated. It is not. I'm not saying we are candidates, because I thought Reading are candidates. Look at them now; they're flying high with Paul Ince, doing very, very well for themselves. Who else? Huddersfield last season, they were top 3. They're down there. We're not bulletproof. What are your thoughts about our current scenario, Holmesy, coming at you from South Africa? What is your
yeah? I mean, I think it is the championship without doubt is one of the hardest leagues to predict. You know, you've got teams we thought would be flying at the beginning of the season, your Middlesbroughs and that, which really did have slow starts. I think it's so hard to say. We aren't invincible. We're not bulletproof, but I don't think we're at that level yet. I don't think we are going to be drawn into the relegation battle, or I certainly hope we're not going to be drawn into the relegation battle. I think what you're going to see from us is what we've seen the first 8 games of the season. You're going to see great matches and you're going to see poor matches. We've got a very, very young team. We've got inexperience, especially in that middle of the park. You know, Adam Warton and Tyler Morton are, 18 and 19 trying to run a midfield. Fantastic against Blackpool, but trying to keep those energy levels up and have that same performance at Bristol wasn't there. So that's what I think you're going to get from us this season. You're going to get glimmers of absolute spectacular, of hope, of where Blackburn could be if these guys stick around. And then you're going to get periods of, geez, I wish we just had like a bit more in that midfield, a bit of experience in there just to help those guys. And it goes back to the point that you made, Dirk, which was after that transfer window, looking back on it, did we get enough through the door? And did we get, a bit more? The experience is exactly the right word, just one of those old heads, someone who's been through it all, a lot of championship experience. I don't think we've got enough of that. You've got Dak, who's been around, but he's been around the block. He's still a youngish guy, I suppose, but he's been out for 2 seasons. Just a general, somebody there in the back who's been through it all. I suppose like Bradley Johnson was for us. I'm trying to think. I've gone blank on the Liverpool and Middlesbrough wing who came in, who Mowbray brought in 2 seasons. Yeah. Stuart, exactly. Someone like him who, he's not going to add a lot on the pitch, maybe, especially in the latter half of the season. But what he brings is that experience, coming on last 20 minutes, just calm the guys down, impart a bit of experience. And I think maybe that's going to be missing this season. But I don't think we're relegation candidates just yet. I think we're going to have good games, we're going to have bad games, and I see us being very, very middle of the pack as we draw towards Christmas and moving forward.
So I'm going to bring it over to Jacob now, of course, who's been up and down the country already watching Rovers this season, and you were there match day number 1 against QPR, where it looked pretty promising. Of course, we started the season in a fantastic run, and then hit a right old stale patch. I think Reading was the first mega. Yeah, it was Reading. Reading was the one that brought us back down to earth somewhat. What have you seen so far that gives us gives us good vibes? And what is there anything that you've seen so far from in the grounds that's giving you bad vibes? That's 2.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think you may be jumping the gun a little bit with relegation talk or whatnot. I think if we were doing this podcast after the performance we put in against Blackpool, I don't think there'd be any question that was a really good performance. I know yesterday was pretty bad, but I mean, if you look at these fixtures we've played, the fixtures we've played so far this season, those 8 games, last season we only took 3 points from those exact same games, home and away and whatnot. This season we've took 12. So in my eyes, I think it's been quite positive. I think it's been a really rough first 8 games, and it doesn't get any easier with Wigan away next, then Watford at home. After that, then we've got like the likes of Cardiff, Rotherham, Millwall, all teams who are kind of struggling at the minute. I think we're going to see the best of this team going forwards. I mean, it's a new head coach, young players, which, is with young players usually comes inconsistency. But we have to remember we've had a high turnover of first team players as well. We've lost our captain, we've lost our first team right back, a first team midfielder, and then you chuck Van Eck and Kadra in there who were first teamers as well. I feel like this was bound to happen. I feel like we were gonna always have a bit of a patchy start, but still, to me anyway, getting 4 wins, that's 3 more wins than we got from those 8 games last season. So I think there's reason to be positive. I think obviously keeping Diaz, he's not going to Chile this year. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. He could quite easily get 30 goals this season. With the rate he was going last year before Christmas, if you can find that same sort of form for an entire season, he could quite easily get Armstrong numbers, in my opinion. So with him, and if Dak can replicate his performance against Blackpool, if he can get 10, 15 goal contributions, I think we could quite easily push for playoffs, in my opinion. I mean, I'd like to think I'm quite a realistic fan. I say it how it is. And I mean, we're 6th at the minute. I'm not really sure what the doom and gloom is about. I know the losses we've had have been poor. But like I said, last year we took 3 points from these 8 games. We've took 12 from these so far. So I think we should be positive, to be honest with you.
Okay, it's good. And of course, we're in the cup. We're still in the cup. Yeah, we've got a little cup run going on.
Exactly.
Which doesn't hinder the cause. What is your take, Alex Haben, coming at you, Southern England? What's your perspective of the start to the campaign?
Yeah. Well, the first 3 games were excellent. We started really well. Everything was going so well, shockingly well, surprisingly well, really surprisingly well. And then, then reality hit, injuries hit, the squad depth hit, and, it's naturally, you can't keep that going unless you've got a really large squad like Manchester City. You can. They lose a first team player, they bring in the reserve first team player, who's just exactly the same. It's like he's like a clone or something. We're not in that kind of position. We can't replace our first team player with another player of the same standard necessarily. But we've got a lot of young players, and it's not to say they won't get there, and they're on the right pathway to get there, but they're not the finished article, and there won't be. But I think there's a lot to be positive about. I think the things that John Dole Thomason is doing are all good. I like the way he wants to play. When we play well, and then I think we're a good side. And we're capable of that. But keeping those levels, that intensity, that way that he wants to play, is difficult. It's difficult with a tough fixture list when the fixtures are so like Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. When you've got that many fixtures and the squad is stretched for injuries, then it's bound to happen. You can't keep that momentum going if you have to chop and change it. It's very difficult like that. But I think in the long run we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine in the long run. But yeah, it's to be expected that we're going to have a blip. But I think being in the cup is a really good thing. That can re-energize the team and the squad. I think that's a really great thing. I'm glad they've been drawn away to West Ham, so I can easily go there.
Yeah.
Good. And so I think there's a lot to be positive about. And this young group of players will improve. And the more opportunity they have, for example, in the cup, will help them to improve. So I'm optimistic. I'm still very optimistic about the season.
Okay, well, that's good. It's good to know. But we are never too far away from our next game, and of course our next game is Wigan. I'm just following on from a comment in the chat, and of course we started off the Northwest table, the Northwest Mini League, okay, with a victory against Blackpool, and yeah, it was a bit of chalk and cheese, you know, with Rovers. 1 minute we're looking like shit hot. Adam Morton was immense at Blackpool, and then bring it back to Ewood. It's just so for me. It's just so bizarre, or just I don't know how we could be so flip floppy, wishy washy, going away in a difficult place, Bloomfield Road. Of course, they ain't no slouches themselves, and they've started off pretty well under another one of our old gaffers there, Michael Appleton. And then we bring it back to Ewood, and I think it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back for me at the moment. And again, yes, I think it was Holmesy. Yeah, brilliant comment. The Stuart Downings, the Barry Johnsons, the just having that experience around the park, not necessarily playing each and every game. I think is what we're missing. We've got a lot of young guys, and that's no secret. We've got a lot of late 20s, which is fine. That's good. But there's no one there who's been there, seen that, and done it, and got the T-shirt or got the shirt or whatever. Who knows the ups and downs, the pitfalls and stuff like that. And again, if we flip this around, and again, I was and of course always have been for the majority of it, been a Mowbray out guy. But if it was flipped around and we had the same roster and a coach that has been there, seen it, and done it, like a Mowbray, to offer that in place of a player that has offered that experience, then that would maybe balance the loss, or you know. So I just think that we could just a splatter 1 or 2 players who are Downing shot. Of course, not him. No, it's too long in the tooth now. But I think that was just the one thing I was looking for this transfer window. Hey, and I don't want to be greedy. Yeah. The fact we got Diaz here is a monstrous boost. But bringing it back to Holmesy, maybe. Hopefully, you might have caught the Blackpool highlights. But what is your take from the Blackpool into the Bristol City? How we've gone from one extreme to another, from playing really good to really average.
Well, luckily enough, I managed to catch the Blackpool match. It was on our local sports channels here, so that was great to watch. And what I really enjoyed about that, I know they've got a close relationship off the field, is Dak and Brereton Diaz, rather. But what I really liked about that, you could see it in the way that they were playing, and that Dak was finding with the passes, led to the goal. Sort of had an instinct of where he was, and it reminded me a bit of when Dak was playing with Danny Graham, the way that they used to play off from each other. So coming from that game, you know, I really like that combination. I hope it's something that we'll be able to take forward. Of course, Adam Warton making his debut there was stellar in that performance. Tyler Morton was great. You know, the only one thing from that game which to my mind I was a bit hesitant about, was Travis at right back. There were just a few moments there where he looked a bit shaky, and for him to then go into the next match against Bristol, unfortunately I didn't manage to watch much of the Bristol match, seen a few highlights here or there, and from what I've read in the reports, he was shaky, it isn't his natural position. He is playing out of position there. I think if we go back to talking about the transfer window, I think getting someone as backup there could have been good. Maybe an older player who can also play at right back. I'm thinking of Sol Black when you got Salgado, but back in the glory days. But it also made me think, why did we let James Brown go on loan if that was a position that we were short on? You know, I'm not sure if they did have a look for a right back, but I thought that was a match screaming out for a genuine right back. And you mentioned Mowbray still around. I was also for a lot of it, just not really well, I would suppose call me a Mowbray out guy, but I just think that playing players out of position was one of the main things that used to frustrate me a lot about Tony Mowbray's reign. And I think we don't want to get drawn back into this. So, so as I say, didn't see much of the Bristol game, but from what I've heard, it was a completely chalk and cheese. The midfield got bossed. I think Alex said they went through like a knife through butter was his analogy, a hot knife through butter.
It was ridiculously easy. The first goal.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, and we mentioned it earlier, that's what you're going to get with youngsters playing there. They, trying to pick themselves up for the next game. Also bringing themselves back down to earth, grounding themselves after a brilliant performance, which is what you need. You need to take each match one at a time, and occasionally you can get caught up in the previous performance and sort of get ahead of yourselves. And then you're playing against a completely different formation, different midfielders who seem to have bossed us. So yeah, I suppose that's really where I am. One other point that going back to the transfer window there at who we brought in. What was interesting in our previous with Mowbray, where we got in a lot of loan players. As far as I'm aware, we only had one loan player come in this transfer window. Two. Pardon?
Three. Morton, Hurst, and Mawler. They're all loans.
I thought Mola, but Hurst and Mola are loans with an option to buy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So the previous ones
have to buy them, though.
No, we don't have to. So depending how they come along this season, but at least the option's there. So you've got 3 young guys who have come into the team who, if they perform, they can possibly be Rovers players going forward. It's too often we had Van Heckers who you'd fall in love with and then they were gone the next season. So I hope that's more of a plan moving forward, where we are getting loans to buys and just permanent signings where we can groom these players through Rovers. It's just, you don't get that continuity. You're constantly having to rechange every season because you've got these loan players who go back to their parent club.
Better way to go, I think.
Yeah, I like those signings a lot more because of that. When we were linked with Hurst, I weren't too impressed with those rumours. But then when I learned it was a loan to buy, I thought at that point, right, it makes sense because obviously he has a decent season. Then we got the option to buy him and then grow him or whatnot. But if it was just a loan, I wouldn't have been too impressed because I would have wanted instant success if it was just a loan.
Yeah.
Yes, I concur. So on the screen about now, I'm going to drop the recent run of fixtures that we've had, of course, which I think is 8 games in total. Hang on, it might be more than that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. 10 total, including our little flirt in the cup. Which one so far? We'll kick it off with Hyman here. Has been your standout performance from Rovers, and which one has been your one to forget?
Okay, the best performance so far. Well, one that I didn't see all of it, but I really want to forget was the last game, obviously. But no, Reading. I want to forget. Reading's top on my list for one to forget because I was there. That just made it worse. But the best performance. That's a tricky one. Could it be Swansea? Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah, I'd say Swansea.
Yeah. Jacob, what about you? What's your take? You've seen a lot of these in person, and maybe your answers are different.
Yeah, I've managed to watch every game. Managed to watch bits of Swansea and Reading when the streams were holding up. But yeah, I've managed to watch every game. I'd say Swansea was the best performance in terms of going there with a game plan and it just going to absolute perfection. Again, we've shown that we're a great counter-attacking team at this level. But I think I wouldn't be wrong in saying, other than Sheffield United, I think Reading, Stoke, and yesterday Bristol, we've dominated the ball and we've lost all three of those games. Sheffield United, obviously, Sheffield United away, they're going to be first or second, in my opinion. So even though we didn't dominate the ball that day, we were always going to struggle. So and that's a point of concern for me. When we have the ball, it just doesn't seem to go very well for us. But I'd say worst game of the season would definitely be Sheffield United. Travelling 4 hours for us to basically go out hoping for a 0-0 or to nick a 1-0. It was pretty depressing, to be honest. And I was getting a lot of comments on the vlog feeling sorry for me, didn't I, Dirk?
Yeah. I didn't know it was that far, 4 hours from Lancashire to Yorkshire. I didn't know it was that. It's been a while.
2 hours there, 2 hours back. Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you now. I'm with you. Holmesy, what's your take on the resume that we've had so far? What's your do you differ from the guys from Swansea or
No, listen, Swansea was a great game. The game that I think I really enjoyed, the victory I really enjoyed was the West Brom one, where we won 2-1. I thought we weren't great, but it was a strong fighting performance, and I like those when our players show a bit of grit, they dig in, they fight back, not expected to win. So that was my favorite victory or my favorite performance. Don't think we played as well as we did against Swansea, but we showed a lot of heart, a lot of determination for a young group. So I think that was a great match to hold on to that 2-1. And then, every loss hurts just as badly. Luckily I don't have to travel 4 hours to go and witness a loss, but yeah, all of them don't like losses.
Yeah, there've been some
makes me grumpy.
There's been some painful ones in there. Daz from England has put a comment in the chat, says his best performance for Rovers' point of view was Blackpool, and against Swansea we saved 2 off the line. Good game plan. He agrees with the good game plan. Like you say, a very, very hit and miss kind of start, and again it is a transition, and I need to get a bit more realistic. I'm a bit of a Debbie Downer right now, but we're going to switch gears now and go to the transfer window. Talk about that. Of course, it's slammed shut. We're going to go over each and every one of the transfers here, of the ins anyway, and then of course we'll talk about one important bit of business that seems to go in our favour, but it might have a sting in its tail. Kick it all off with this fella here. Callum Britton was brought in from Barnsley, signed, sealed, delivered. Holmesy, what's your opinion about him so far in a blue and white jersey?
I think he's been solid so far. I like him. I think he's got a better cross on him than Nyambe. I was a little bit of a Nyambe fan. I thought he gave it all. I think his relationship with Mowbray sort of tarnished his time at Rovers. I think possibly I thought with a new manager he would have stayed. But yeah, I've been impressed with Callum Britton so far. A genuine right back, lots of speed, good defender, and yeah, can create a bit more. I think in his debut, if I'm not mistaken, he swung a ball into the middle. I think it was in a cup game for Dak to hit home. If my memory serves me right, I could be absolutely wrong, but I'm sure he's got an assist somewhere along there. So I think a good signing, good addition to the ranks. Just wish we had a little backup for him.
Yep, good point. What about you, Jacob? You've seen him in the flesh. How good is he?
I think he's an upgrade on Nyambe personally. Like Holmesy, I was a big Nyambe fan. I think, like he mentioned, I think the relationship with Mowbray just didn't work in his favour in the end. But I'm sure he's kicking himself that he didn't go on the pre-season tour with us because he's not even getting a start for Wigan at the minute, apparently. But yeah, I think we've upgraded. I think Britain seems a lot more competent going forwards. He seems pretty steady defensively, and yeah, I can't really. He's obviously not played that many games because he's picked up a few injuries. He went off with that concussion as well in one game, I believe. So there's not too much to say, but I do think it should be an upgrade. And to say, obviously, he's been chucked in at the deep end and he's put in some pretty good performances, I'd say. There's probably his best to come, I would hope.
Yeah, best to come. Alex, have you been a fan of the switch from Nyambe to Britain?
Yes, yes, I think he's more like the player we need. He provides more. He's been solid enough defensively. He can pass, and he can, he's got a cross and an assist in him, like Alex said. So, yes, I think he's a better all-round player, definitely. And we're really missing him now.
We are. We're definitely missing him. He is big shoes to fill, looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's a more complete player. More complete player than Nyambe. As good as Nyambe was defensively, he didn't offer enough in other areas.
No.
He didn't offer enough as a right back. So, probably for the best.
I'm just hoping. Well, I was hoping anyway that we would have got a backup right back, because I think that's come to sting us now. Obviously, we wanted Van der Berg, who can play there, and by all accounts does a pretty good job there. I think obviously JDT was sending Brown out on loan, thinking JRC would be competent enough as a backup, but I think it took him 45 minutes to realise he isn't. Subbed off at half time for probably the 5th game in a row or something for Costello. So I think he's just scratching his head now on who's his backup right back. Travis has proven in Blackpool and Bristol he can't play there, in my opinion. And I don't think he's playing there on merit. I think it would have been better to go Carter at right back and then put Mauler or Phillips in at centre back. But he's the captain, so he's got to fit him in somewhere, I guess. And unfortunately, I think he made the wrong decision on Saturday, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's also. Sorry, Alex.
Because, I just want to add something quickly. Is it because we have to play Morton? Is that a factor?
I hope not. I don't like those sorts of loans where it's like you've got to play him so many times or whatever. Because I would have much rather Morton have been on the bench, Travis start with Warton in midfield, and then put Carter at right back with Mauler or Phillips.
Or even if Morton's got to play, he played at centre back in the cup. Could he not have done that again?
I mean, different levels of opposition, but he looked really comfortable in the cup. I was really impressed. He was my man of the match against Bradford for sure. But I wouldn't want to risk that in the Championship, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite there for a Championship defender, especially stepping down from midfield. But I was thinking there's also a guy in the under-21s called Dan Pike, who's. I haven't seen a lot of him, but he's been in and around the Rovers setup for a couple of years now. I think about 3 years. Maybe in a cup game or two, give him a bit of time.
There was all this talk about Dan Pike. There was a lot of talk about Dan Pike, and he's never been given an opportunity, really. I don't understand that.
I think he went out on loan last season to Fire, which will show you where he's at in standard, and that's like non-league or Vanarama North. So he wasn't, he's still a bit out. Anyway, you're kind of getting ahead of yourselves here by talking about Morton. We want to talk about this sexy bit of kit. It's Sammy Smodic. What's the verdict on Smodic so far? Haben, you're on the clock here, so. It's on you, man. Yeah.
Me, right. Okay. Smodic's, well, he's flattered to deceive so far, and now he's injured. I mean, he looked good in the first game, obviously, because he scored a goal on his debut. But since then, he's been bullied off the ball and decked quite a lot. And now he's injured, and I need to see more from him. I need to see that he can be another Dak. He can provide something. He needs to be providing assists or goals. He needs to be creating something, making things happen, and he's not been doing that. The jury's out for me on him, very much so.
Well, I just did a quick Google, and the 18 months difference in age, Smodic and Dak. Dak is 18 months older than Smodic, so yeah, he's got an uphill struggle now to show that he's really worth the fee, and the fee hopefully will not ever reach. Well, I don't want to lay. I want to see him succeed. Of course I do, but that one moment, that one thing is all we can. That's his highlight reel. That's his highlight goal. Is his highlight reel for Rovers. Jacob Ward, what do you think?
Yeah, we need more.
I completely agree with Alex. The goal was harder to miss. To be honest with you, it was put on a plate by Hedges, and other than that, he didn't really do anything in that game, to be honest. And in every other game since that he's featured in, he's not done anything for me. I can't remember any other shots, to be honest, any good passes, anything to kind of get me a bit excited. He just seems like a nothing player from what I've seen. Obviously it's just the beginning of his time at Rovers, so we can't be too harsh, but with someone his age who, like you're saying, Dirk's 18 months younger than Dak, so he's 27 or something.
27 in
you
a week
want
or something.
Yeah, so you're wanting instant success, aren't you? When you're buying someone of that age, you're not wanting to give them a year or two to kind of grow into their role. You're wanting them to come in and hit the ground running, which he hasn't, in my opinion. He has done a lot of that. He's ran about a lot. I'll give him that, but that is pretty much it. It was against Sheffield United was the really bad one for me. He just looked lost, and I think he was playing at striker that day, and Gallagher was on the wing. Won't get into that, but yeah, he's definitely not a striker. He needs to be given that chance in that number 10 role, and I think then we might see the best of him. But he's not a striker, and I hope we don't see him there again.
No. Holmes, I'm going to pitch a different player to you. I'm going to throw in a new guy at the back, Dom Hyman. What's your take on Dom Hyman's introduction to Ewood and Blackburn Rovers? That's Holmesy.
Yeah, I think he's been a good signing. I think it was Jacob who posted that on our group, showing the different areas of comparison seasons between him and Dara from last year. And I must be honest, I'm quite excited. I thought he was very solid coming in pretty much out the cold against Blackpool, straight into the starting 11, and he did well there. I didn't see his game against Bristol. I don't know how he performed there. But letting in 3 goals isn't great. But I'm excited about his arrival. I think he can grow if him and ideally Warton can form a central defensive partnership with Ayala sort of coming in when need be, sort of managing Ayala's fitness. He's not going to last. As we can see, we know he's going to play 4 or 5 games, get injured for 4 or 5 games, come back into the team, then go out again. So I'd like to see Dom and Warton forming a nice, strong central midfield partnership there. There's also Carter waiting in the wings. I'm less excited about Carter's partnership with him, but I think it was a good piece of business. From what I've seen, Coventry weren't too happy, and any time another team's not too happy seeing their players go, I think is a win for Blackburn.
Yeah. That is good. That is good. I always seem to feel that we are the ones that get stung in those sort of deals, and we're the ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's nice to do a bit of stinging the other way.
Yeah.
Alex, what's your take on the ex-Coventry skipper now being a Rovers player?
Yeah, I'm impressed by him so far. I think he's a well-rounded. As in the diagram, pretty well rounded. I think defender. I think he's a good all-round central defender. He looks like he can do everything competently, everything to a good level. And being a captain as well, we desperately need those kind of players. Former captain, and I'm impressed with him so far. I am. And I just,
Well, you've actually, your phrase there has put a new topic into the agenda. I'm gonna throw out to you all. should we revisit, because of maybe, square pegs round holes? Do we need to address maybe a different captain? Do we want to mix that up a little bit? Do you think I love Travis, and Travis gets in the team, but again, we're probably going to get to this in a minute. I'm going to get to the strongest 11 when everybody's fit, when everybody's raring to go, and I'm going to ask you later for your strongest 11. Would you consider replacing Travis in that 11 and replacing the armband? I'm going to throw that out to anybody who wants it.
Yeah, I think that would be really harsh, to be honest. I think Travis, in my opinion anyway, still makes our best 11. I know, he's had 2 really poor performances, in my opinion, at right back, but at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's expecting him to go to right back and have a 10 out of 10. I expect him to be a bit more competent than he has been, but nevertheless, that's not exactly his problem. He played there in his youth career, apparently, which is probably the only reason why he's been given a go there. But you can tell it's been a while. That's all I'll say. But yeah, it's you can't take the armband off him. I wouldn't have minded potentially taking him out for a game if he really wanted to start Morton and Warton and giving the armband to Dak for the game. He's obviously had the armband in the cup. I wouldn't have minded that, but I think the right call on Saturday would have been, like I said before, to have Travis in the midfield with Warton, who was undroppable, obviously, after Blackpool Warton, and have Carter at right back, who's put in a few good shifts last season at right back as and when he needed to, and is more than competent there. I think we would have done a hell of a lot better if we'd had Carter there and put Phillips next to Hyman. Phillips has shown that he can do a decent job anyway, better than Travis can do at right back.
All right. And we're going to go back now.
Yeah,
Sorry. Jump in there, Holmesy. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in there and say, in terms of swapping captains mid-season, I don't think it does anything for morale. And as a team as a whole, I think you've got Trav as the captain. I think he's come to the ranks. I think he's a leader. He's got that fighting leadership spirit there. I think the guys in the dressing room look up to him. Sort of as a senior squad player, he's still young, but as a senior player, I think you don't want to go be messing around with captaincies and the dressing room at this stage of the season.
Correct. All right, so
I agree.
Good. Well, I'm going to bring you right back in. Of course, we did glaze over the fact that we signed Tyler Morton, and we talked about his strengths, maybe all over the field. Good bit of business, you think, Hyman?
Tyler Morton. Yeah. Yes, he looks like a good player, a good all-round midfielder. He can do everything to a good level, but he's still only young. He's only 19, so we can't expect the finished article. It goes for him and Warton. We can't expect too much of these young guys, but they're good players. He's a good player, no doubt about it. He comes from Liverpool's academy. And you can tell he can do everything to a good standard, everything to a good level. But, young players will naturally have their limitations. If they come up against experienced championship know-how, then they'll lose out. Not every time, but I'd say quite a lot of the time they will lose out. So, yeah, but he's a quality player. I can tell he's a quality midfielder, and he's got the lot, really, I think, by the looks of it.
Any more for the good of the order on Tyler Morton?
No, I mean, like I mentioned before, man of the match performance for me against Bradford. Chucked in at the deep end at centre half, and was a really mature performance for someone of his age. Personally, I think he's quite similar to Buckley. I think they're quite interchangeable. Buckley's not had the rub of the green at the minute. I think he's been struggling really since QPR. So I don't mind Morton coming in for the time being. He knows how to pick a pass or whatnot. And yeah, it looks like a very solid player. Give you a 7 out of 10 in that midfield, it seems like. I think we're probably probably yet to see the best of him, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and the options that he brings, again, you know, it does seem like we've got a lot of different names to fill the same spot, and providing, you know, similar attributes and styles and stuff. So it will be interesting. Holmesy, you have a word on Morton?
Yeah. I was just gonna say I'm interested to see where he is second half of the season and how he'll grow in and amongst Blackburn. You know, we've seen little glimmers of him, first at centre back, then at centre midfield now, and it'll be interesting to see how he develops towards the end of the season. Obviously, a player with immense talent, and somebody who I think Liverpool really rate very highly. So, you know, we can hope that he can have the same impact as previous Liverpool loanees.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that he will offer goals particularly, but you know, I think he's capable of getting a goal. I'd like to see him get a goal, or obviously as many as possible. But yeah, I don't see him as a natural goal threat.
Yeah, listen, I think he's more of a creator, controlling a bit of play, pulling the strings there a bit, rather than taking those shots. But yeah, I think he's good for a couple of goals this season, though. Yeah. Maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if he got 4 or 5. I'd say probably 2.
2. Should we put a wager on it?
Yeah.
Well, one person who will get goals is this chap here, George Hurst, signed on the dotted line, loan to buy. I was very excited. Wow, I was underwhelmed at first, but I saw him on Saturday. I don't know there was not many positives to take away from Bristol City, but I was very happy, interested and excited by the energy and the effort this kid put in his cameo first half and a bit of change. So, Alex, what's your take on the prospect of Hurst getting some goals and maybe even becoming the future talisman up top for Rovers?
Is that me?
You.
Okay. I think Hurst has got a lot of potential. He looked quite good to me even against Bristol City. You know, I wish he'd hit the target instead of missing the glorious opportunity I saw. But I think he's got a lot of potential. He did well in League One. I think it will take him a bit of time to adjust. But if we get the supply to him correct, I think he'll get goals. I really think he'll get goals. I think he's a confidence player. From what I've heard, the way it went in League One, I think once he gets a goal, I think he could go on a streak of scoring goals. So yeah, I'm optimistic that if we get the supply to him correct, he will get goals.
I agree. Well, what about Jacob? What's your take on him so far?
Yeah, I agree with Alex. I think he definitely should have hit the target. Hedges put it on a plate for him, similar to how we did with Smodic against Swansea. Good Hedges have shot. You know, in hindsight, I wish he had, but if Hurst gets that on target, it's probably a goal, and he really should have put it on target, in my opinion. But I mean, I feel like we probably need to maybe take advantage a bit of his aerial threat. We didn't cross the ball to him once, from what I remember, against Bristol. You know, we've got Hedges on the right, who's always looking to cut in on his left, and Diaz on the left, always looking to cut in on his right. I think potentially, if we can get the fullbacks bombing on a bit and providing some crosses for him, you know, he's 6'3", 6'4", he seems a presence. Hopefully he can actually head a ball, unlike Gallagher. So we'll have to see, I guess. But I loved his energy, like you mentioned, Dirk. Really good pressing from the front. And there was one moment in particular in the second half where the ball was looking like it was going out for a goal kick. He, ran his socks off to get it, put a really good ball into the box, and there's just no one there. And I were really pissed off with that at that point, because I think we were 2-0 down and no one's taking that gamble to actually believe in him to keep the ball in play and then put a ball into the box. So yeah, he looks a decent player, and I think Alex said, feel like if he gets that goal, he could go on a bit of a run like he did for Pompey, hopefully. So hopefully he gets that goal sooner rather than later, and then he can get 15 goals for us. I'd be more than happy with that.
Holmesy.
No, he's not a player that I'm very familiar with, Dirk. No, I didn't. I've obviously watched a few YouTube videos and went and did a bit of research on his little run with Pompey. I do know that he struggled in his previous loan, I think was at Rotherham. I could be wrong, where he didn't get a goal in 35. So hopefully we get the second loan spell that he went on to Pompey and possibly getting a goal. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he comes through. It looks like he's a central striker, so hopefully he'll play in the central striker position. It'll be interesting to see what this means for, say, a Gallagher. Of course, Gallagher's been played more on the right than he has down the middle. What does this mean for Jack Vale? Well, Jack Vale, I suppose he's missed out on his opportunity to go out on loan, but he hasn't really done anything in the first 8 games. I know he had one shot, I think it was against Blackpool, which looked like it was sneaking into the corner, and then the keeper got there. So it'll be interesting to see what the arrival of Graham does for those strikers, and how we factor him into the team and the game time that he actually gets. But hopefully he's one for the future and one that we can take on as a permanent.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not going to be a crazy money for this kid. Hopefully it's a good bit of business, so far I think it's looking promising for me. Also joining him, of course, on deadline day, or actually the day after we complete that deal, we signed this kid. Again, we didn't get to see him. He was involved he was on the bench anyway against Bristol City. Clinton Mola. Don't know. Again, I'm coming at this one a little bit raw myself. I don't know too much about him. I know he's at Chelsea's academy, but I think so was Holmesy. Jacob was on Chelsea's books. I think Alexander Hyman was on Chelsea's books. I was on Chelsea's books. I think we were all on Chelsea's books. I think James Hickman, Dallas from England, Daniel Gary, whoever's in the chat were also on Chelsea's books. So they've signed us all at one stage in our lives. But
well, Chelsea went, boys.
Yeah.
But he is a defender by trade. Can play centre back, left back, defensive midfielder, good utility player. And I think we had a good chat about him a little bit on the transfer show. Haben was there, Jacob was there. I kind of like a Joe Rankin Costello, but on the other side. What do you take on it so far, Alexander Haben?
Well, can I just say I hope he's better than Rankin Costello? Otherwise, we're in for a long season.
Don't we all?
Yes, I think there's a lot of potential with him, but it's unproven potential. So it's one of them, really, isn't it? He's come from Chelsea. He should be quality to get through their youth system, and he's experienced football in Germany, and I think he could be a good signing. It could be a good signing. I don't see why not. I've got no reason to think he won't be. But the proof's in the pudding.
Definitely in the pudding. Who was next? Jacob.
I think he's played 14 games in the past 2 years or something. What isn't ideal. It seems like someone who needs the game time, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be getting too much. He seems like he's back up, obviously in multiple positions, centre back, left back, holding midfield. What's great, because I think having a backup left back, if Pickering carries on the way he does, he could quite easily slot in there. But I feel like Edun definitely deserves a chance. A really good performance against Bristol. Centre half, obviously, good to have another option there. We're crying out for those, obviously, a week or two ago. And holding midfield, if Trav gets injured, he's probably the only natural holding midfielder we have. So I like it. I think it's a good bit of business, and obviously we've got that option to buy, but unfortunately I can kind of see it going the same way as Zifuk, another loan from Germany. I don't feel like he's going to get that many chances to really kind of see himself get into the team. I feel like he's not obviously coming in looking to be a first team player. Like I said, I think it's going to be a backup. So unfortunately, I don't think this one's going to work for me.
Holmesy.
I'm
Sorry, hey.
I'm a little bit optimistic because of his Chelsea origin. He knows English football. That's that gives me some optimism.
Yeah, I don't think was a bad signing or a bad loan signing. He seems to. I think he's played with a couple of the guys down in the England under 21 setup. And it's not a bad idea to have a player who can fill a couple of positions on the bench, a sort of more versatile player. Heavens knows we're going to need some backup at some stage throughout the season. And listen, Stuttgart, I think he was with them when they got promoted. Germany have a reputation of building solid defenders, so maybe he's learned a thing or two out in Germany. As can play left side, left back, set defensive midfielder. Yeah, I'm not unhappy with the signing at all. I think he could become a very good squad player. A couple of good performances, and he could slot in somewhere. 5. Don't forget, we've got a season now where we've got 5 subs that you can use. I say use the bench, keep players fresh. So have a player that can play in multiple positions.
Yeah, I think he'll get minutes. And again, he's got to take his chance. I think if he gets given a sniff of a starting spot, he's got to really go for it. And from his valuation, I saw it was under $1 million, according to Transfermarkt.com. I don't know what Stuttgart are rating him as, but if he can take this chance and us Rovers get a good deal out of it, then we might have unlocked a hidden gem. So that's what I'm hoping for. But probably the biggest win of again, I don't know if it is a win, but the biggest talking point of the transfer window was this guy, Big Bad Boy Brereton Diaz, going nowhere. It was linked with everyone. I think he was linked with, again, he was going to go to South Africa at one stage. He was going absolutely anywhere and everywhere, but he's staying put. And again, I dropped a tweet out there after this was done, and I said that we were rolling the dice a little bit by not selling him. And again, people were quite chatty about that tweet, and they said it's not my money. But I can't. I'm not like that. I think it's. I see Rovers as my own, even though, and I might not pay as much money as Jacob Ward with a season ticket, but I feel it's. I don't think it's a good business move, but hopefully, and a lot of people are thinking we're going to be playoff contenders. I really don't think that's going to be the case, but. Holmesy, you're still on the clock here, so I can still see you. So what's your take on Diaz staying, and who won? Who won out of that transfer? Mixed. Did Diaz win? Mixed. Did Rovers win? Did someone else win?
Yeah, mixed feelings. Yeah, Dirk. I think it depends which Diaz we get for this season, doesn't it? If we get Diaz from the first half of last season and he's smashing in the goals, and he's driving us towards promotion places, we are absolutely the winners. Maybe if he is in that form and he's getting us there, and he can see there's a possibility of us going through to the Premier League, then he might sign a contract. But to miss out on what could potentially be a massive fee, which can go to rebuilding the club, getting two or three or four new signings coming in to give us some reinforcements, especially if he doesn't fire like he has been like he did last season. Say we get a Brereton Diaz who's just Brereton and not Brereton Diaz. I think we've lost out on a bit of money there, and his value will drop. I'm of the opinion that he's going to go in January. He's not playing in the World Cup, so there's going to be a lot of Premier League teams looking for a fresher striker. So I think he will go then. The other side of the coin, what we don't know is what were the offers that were coming in. I think the Fulham offer, from what I've heard, was a low ball offer, which we rejected outright. Did we get that offered that 15 to 20 million that we were hoping for? Because if we got offered that 5 to 10 million, well, then we keep him, and come what may. And I'm still hopeful still very hopeful that he'll sign a little contract and just to give a little bit something back to Blackburn. We'll put in a fee there for somebody to come and buy him. So we'll say, if somebody comes in with 15 million, we'll sell you. I know how football doesn't work that way anymore with free transfers and agents, and how there's a whole lot of skullduggery that happens behind the scenes that we don't even see. So players sometimes prefer to go for free because it means more money for them. But yeah, very mixed feelings about this. Of course, his attitude has been great. His attitude in that Blackpool game was great 2 days before he possibly could have been leaving Blackburn. Let's hope for Ben Brereton Diaz, the Chile international.
Jacob, what's your take?
Personally, I think it's great news. He's got 4 goals in 8 games, carries on at that rate. He's on for 23 for the season, isn't he? Similar numbers to last season, but I think it's been a hard first 8 games. He's had to deal with obviously all this speculation of where he's going or whatnot. He can settle down now and start playing his best football again, in my opinion. We've only won 1 game where he hasn't scored, and that was QPR. And, obviously that was only a 1-0. So I think he's a crucial part to this team. He's our best player. And I don't think there's any negatives in keeping him, in my opinion. I think if it comes to January and we're looking way off the playoffs, say if we're, languishing 15th or so, there's no real thoughts of relegation, which there shouldn't be anyway, even if he left on transfer deadline day. And there's not a cat and hell's chance we get relegated. There's so many teams worse than us in this division. If we're way off the playoffs, then I think Venky's will cash in my opinion, 7 million, get their money back, balance the books. 7 million for someone with 6 months left when there's nothing to play for the season. You may as well, mightn't you? I think, like you said, Dirk, in your tweet, they've rolled the dice. Obviously I like it. It's ambitious to me. They've put the price there. No one was willing to meet it, and you've got to give credit to Venky's for that. They haven't bottled it. That is something they always do. They'll put a price on a player and they say you pay it or you're not having him. And I think it's ambitious to turn down. I think it was 12 million from Everton. Apparently that big come in, and we turned it down. So really ballsy move, and they're clearly thinking we can go for playoffs this year. And we're 6th at the minute. So, I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't flirt with it this season, in my opinion. Now that he's here, for sure.
Alex?
Yes, I'm happy with it, and I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't make playoffs. Apart from the squad depth that we can address in January. And I don't think that's reliant on Ben Brereton Diaz going. So I'm happy with it, and it's everything that he offers. He offers a lot. He offers goals, link-up play. His direct approach is just what we need, and we won't get another one of him. If he'd have gone, we wouldn't have been able to replace him with another player of his caliber. So I'm really happy that he's staying, and it can be reviewed in January. But I hope he stays, gets us into the playoffs, and I think that's possible. I do think we need to bring some more players in somehow, whether that's free transfers now with a bit more experience, I think we need that. If we can do that now, I think we should do that, and then add some more in January. And but I think it's great that he's here, and if he can propel us towards the playoffs, I think we've got as good a chance of making the playoffs as a lot of teams in this division, and there's no reason to say that we couldn't do it. And especially if we've got him, if we got Diaz.
Yeah, he definitely makes us stronger. Okay, so let's go around the house here. Back to we're starting with, actually, we're going to stick with you, Alex. Transfer window upgrading out of from A as amazing, or 8 stars amazing, to F as in shit. What do you grade us with the players coming in and players going out and keeping Diaz? What would you rank us in your grade, or would you want to give it out of 100? What would you want to? Your choice.
It's going to be a bit hard for me to work out of 100.
Like 100 is amazing,
so,
75 is pretty good, 50 is pretty it's like average, 25 pretty shit. Like heavy.
All right, I'd probably go 65 or a C.
65. Let's go give 65. That looks better on here. 65%. Holmesy, what is your grade out of 100?
Do we include the managerial change in this?
No. That was discussed earlier. We're talking about the business.
Just the players. Just the players. I'm going to give it a 70%.
70%. Okay.
Yeah, I think we brought in a lot of quality players that can be there for the future, as opposed to previous windows where we had more loan players we knew would be gone the following season. So we can sort of build with these players, and with a view to a future. Would have liked some more experience and would have liked a few more bodies through, but it was decent. I think we got some good guys coming through.
Jacob, how do you rank it out of 100?
Well, we had a little chat about this the other day, but I'd give it a B personally. I think Hyman's been the signing of the window for sure. We've actively weakened someone who, an opposition that probably is quite similar to us, would fancy themselves to maybe make a playoff push this season. I know they've started quite poorly, but I do think they're quite similar to us. They've got the good players like O'Hare, whatnot. We've took their best defender and their captain ultimately, and I think that's definitely an A-grade signing. I think we've covered pretty much all bases other than, a backup right back, which couldn't be foreseen, obviously, with Rankin Costello being so shit, and obviously the Van der Berg loan not happening, which I think was quite unfortunate, because I think it would have if it weren't for Matip getting injured for Liverpool. So there's not much that could have been done there, but I don't feel like we could have really done any more than we have. But just question the ability of a few of the players we've got in. We've covered all the positions, in my opinion, other than right back, but we'll just have to see how some of them kick on, in my opinion, before I can probably bump it up to an A. If you're asking me at the end of the season and Smodic has got 10 goals and, Morton's been absolutely class, then it could be a different story.
So you said a B, which works out, what would you say that is out of 100? Like 80 or 75 or? What would you?
Well, at GCSE, I think B's 70 out of 100. So we'll go with 70.
Same as Holmesy then, really. Well, I'm going to be a little bit less. I'm going to go 60. Just because. Just a bit of. I just think we could have done with a bit more experience. And again, a lot of these are unproven. Hurst, Mola, Smonic already a little rusty. The Hyman deal was big, like that. Morton, of course, and Britain. So those were the three. Of course, keeping Diaz will get us goals. What we got going here? Okay. So I'm sorry.
No, I just want to say one thing. I didn't really say anything on the Sammy signing. I haven't watched a lot of him, but
neither have we.
We
haven't watched much of him either.
Yeah, but just if we remember last season, Hedges came in and he looked a bit at sea, and it was just a case of just finding his feet within his squad, getting to know everyone, getting to know the patterns, getting to know the play, how the players around him play, and I'm hoping that's going to be the same for Sammy. I think give him time. I think he's going to be a quality signing.
Yeah,
we hope you're right. I'd just like to add one thing. Were we ever in for Pavida at all?
I hope not.
I think we were linked with him.
I really don't rate
him with Mowbray. That if he was going to stick around, they might have offered him a deal, but no, he went to Blackpool. Ha ha ha.
Okay.
What's a step down? What shows his level, if you ask me?
Yeah. On the.
I was just waiting for him to score.
Yeah. So on the screen now we have our next run of games. We have Wigan next, of course. Watford. So Wigan away, Watford at home. Luton away, Millwall at home, Cardiff away, Rotherham at home, Borough away, and then we've got Tony Mowbray. We're gonna end it on the Tony Mowbray derby on the 18th of October. So it's 1, 2, 3, not including the Birmingham here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. How many points are we going to pick up in those 8 games? Who wants to have a stab at that first?
Could you go through the fixtures again?
Wigan away. Wigan away this coming Saturday. Then Watford at home at Ewood Park midweek game. Luton Town away. Shithouse Merchants. Millwall at home. Cardiff away. Rotherham at home. Borough away. Tony Mowbray at home. It's tricky.
I'd say 10 to 12 points. I'd hope for. From those fixtures. Looking at those, Wigan away, Watford at home, I'd take 3 points from those 2 games now. We've got such a bad record at the DW. We haven't won there in 15 years or something daft. Watford at home's not going to be an easy one. They've lost all their front line, haven't they, with Dennis or whatnot all leaving, but they're still going to be a tough game for sure. They beat Burnley, who are obviously doing well at the minute, so... Then Luton away is always going to be a hard one. Drew there last season, didn't we? Cardiff away is a hopeful one for me. We won there last season. I think they're not doing very well right now, so I'd hope for a win there. Rotherham at home is a must-win. We have to beat them at home. And then Middlesbrough away, and it will be another tough game. Even though they're down there at the minute, it's never an easy ground to go to, and we drew there last season, so... I'd hope for 10 to 12, personally. There's also Millwall as well, another game we drew last season at home. They'll probably come for another 0-0. So hopefully we can just break them down this time.
And will we beat Tony Mowbray at Ewood?
That is a good question. I'd hope so. But, I mean, obviously 3-0 in that first result. How did they get on the weekend?
They play tomorrow against Middlesbrough.
Right, okay. That'll be an interesting game. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how we're going at the time and how they're going, but I'd say we've got a better team than them. We're at home, so I'd hope we do the business, and I think that'll obviously be a big one for JDT as well. Obviously getting one over Mowbray, so I'd hope we'd beat them. But they'll come in their numbers. They'll fill out the Darwin end for sure, and we know what the Mackhams are like. So they'll probably outsing Rovers fans all game. To be honest with you,
Alex Hyman, how many points you reckon?
So we're going from Wigan to
Watford.
Wigan to Watford.
And Wigan, then back at home to take on Watford. Luton Town away, Millwall at home, Cardiff away, Rotherham at home, Borough away, Tony Mowbray at home.
So last one is Sunderland.
Yeah. Managed by the sexy one.
So, right. Okay. So Wigan away, I'll probably go 1 point. Then Watford 0 points.
Nice.
Then Luton. I don't know. Luton are a bogey team for us, so I'll probably
Massively.
lucky if we get a draw. So I'll go with a draw. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that 13? Can you?
Mate,
13
I'm
points?
sure you can get 13. I'm sure you can get 13.
We can get 13. Do you want to count again, Alex?
Have I gone wrong
No,
somewhere?
You're good.
Unlucky.
Lucky for some.
Well, hopefully it's a lucky 13 then. Hopefully it's a lucky 13 if that's correct.
Holmesy, what you got out in South Africa?
I think we're going to come away with 14 points from the next 8 games. I think that'll be a good outcome for Blackburn. 14 from 8.
Right, gosh, Jacob's looking like he's like, oh no, his number looks crazy now. 18 compared to everybody else's. I don't know what we're looking at here. I'm gonna go bold here. I'm gonna go 3, 6, 9, 12. Well, it's quite tough. You know, Burrow ain't gonna get squat from there.
That's 3, 6. So I think 4 wins and 2 draws and 2 losses. I'll take that any day.
15 points. 15 points.
Nice.
Wow. Hope you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been a bit pessimistic for once.
Hey, don't go on me. Have a go at Jacob. You went with 18 points, right? You went with 18 points.
No, I said 10 to 12.
Really? Oh crap! Shoot.
I'm the
I
pessimistic
thought you
one
said
here.
I thought you said 18. Oh crap!
No, I'm telling you, the run of fixtures we've had has been barren. You look at the next 2. That first 10 games is hard. So I think to find ourselves where we are, I think we've done quite well personally. And I think it's not up until Cardiff. We've got 3 decent games there: Cardiff, Rotherham, and if Borough are still in the same run of form, you'd hope we can maybe do one over them away. But it's not going to be an easy one away at Borough, is it?
No. So we are 7th as of right now after today's match. Reading did win. They beat somebody. Who they beat? Stoke. So they have pushed us down to 7th. Sheffield United also won today. So let's go around the clocks here. From today, coming at you, the 4th of September. Alexander Haben, where are we going to finish at the end of the season?
Well, I'm going to be Is this I've got to be realistic.
Hey, we'll revisit these later, and maybe we'll do it again in a couple months' time. See if you change your mind. But right here, right now, your gut feeling from the window, from the form, from the games coming up. What are you thinking?
My gut feeling.
Yeah.
As the squad is now, my gut feeling is probably about 10th. Maybe. If we're lucky.
10th is a good feeling. That's not a bad feeling. Holmesy, South Africa, where'd you go?
I think we're right there, right smack bang in the middle of about 13th, 14th.
I'm going to put 13th to make it look nice.
13th.
Jacob, you're usually Mr. Negative. You're usually Mr. Negative, or you were last season, but maybe you might have turned a new leaf. What was your take?
Well, there weren't much to be positive about last season. That's why I did it.
Well, there was till February.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I think that last few months of Mowbray era kind of depressed us all a little bit. But I mean, I've been the most negative with my point predictions there. But in terms of where we finished, who's above us at the minute?
Well, it's a lot of, I can't look at the screen right now, but I think Reading are above us, Sheffield United, Watford, Burnley, they're up there. Who else is up there?
Norwich.
They've kicked into gear now after a crappy start. So,
Yeah, Reading will fall off. I can't see them keeping that up personally. I'd be shocked if Paulins can keep that up. But yeah, I think I'm going to be the most positive here. I'll go with, I think, probably quite similar to last season, like a 7th or 8th finish. I think we'll flirt with playoffs, definitely, considering we kept Diaz. Like I said, it's been a rough run of fixtures. They don't get any easier, the next few anyway. But it's a new head coach, a lot of new players, and I just hope we end the season stronger than we have now. And I mean, we're doing all right at the minute, 7th after the first 8 games we had. I think many Rovers fans would have took that at the start of the season, to be honest, considering new head coach and obviously, like I said, high turnover of first team players and a lot of players coming in. And like I said before, I made the point of we took 3 points from those 8 games last season, the exact same fixtures last season. So to take 12 is not to be sniffed at, in my opinion. So I think we'll flirt with it. I give us every chance of potentially sneaking in there. But I think we'd all take a 7th or 8th finish in JDT's first season, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, let's hope you're right. I've gone with 11th. I've just gone in. I split the difference between Holmesy and Alex. I think I started with 10th at the start of the campaign. I'm just going a little bit weaker than that. But I think that would be an okay result at the end of the day, considering the squad that we have and first season in charge for Yundon Thomas, and hopefully we can build on that next. And hopefully you are right.
I think a lot of it hinges on if we do any business in January, and is that business the right business? If we get things right in January, that changes my prediction from 10th to maybe 6th. It depends on that. If there's more business to be done, if we do some business in January, if we do the right business, then yeah, we could make, the potential's there. Anything could happen. We can make the playoffs.
Anything can.
If Diaz stays after January and we get a couple more loans in like we usually do every January, it gives Greg Broughton, he'll have had more than enough time there to kind of, settle in, see what players he wants, what the squad needs. Like Alex said, I give us every chance, to be honest, this season. I think we've done quite well so far, and I think there's a lot more better performances to look forward to, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully is the right answer. Okay, so we've got to wrap this baby up. I've got another live thing coming at you very, very soon. I'm unboxing some stickers, so that'll be happening soon. So all in all, but before we bow out for the final bit, of course, I want to chuck this out. Yeah, it is the last day to vote for, of course, Football Content Creator Awards. Give Jacob, give Alexander Hyman a night out. Go and vote. /vote Roverseas. It is 100% free. Last day to vote. You guys can do this. And I'm just trying to make sure you can see it.
Holmesy, you coming over? You coming over for it?
I'll come over for it.
I'm not paying for no flight. I'm not paying for no flight.
Oh no.
What?
No, me, Holmesy, and Pete will have to watch from the sidelines. But vote. It is 100% free, and of course, it gives these guys, the hard-working guys who are out there treading the boards, treading the grounds, a night out. So please, last day to vote. You can do it. It's 100% free. Any closing comments for the good of the order, Holmesy?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting season. I'm looking forward to how we progress. Going back to what we said, we're going to have some great performances and we're going to have some poor performances, but let's enjoy those great performances and watching our lads grow.
Yeah. And hopefully the dreadful performance, because we got the Mowbray year was like loads of good results and then a long stretch of bad results. Hopefully it is 50-50. Good result, a couple of good results, a couple of bad results. Hopefully the next good result isn't far off. Alexander Hyman, no. Jacob, close us out on your thoughts for any closing comments.
No, like you said, I'd much prefer the 50-50 results like we've got at the minute. Obviously 4 wins, 4 losses, but really good runs, what was always the case under Mowbray, followed by absolutely woeful runs, because it's the hope that kills you, I guess. So I'd much rather just kind of know where we are. But like I said, I think reason to be positive. We should grow into the season. It's a young squad. Once they all click together, if Diaz can, find the levels of form which he found the first half of last season, if he can get to 20 again before Christmas, I'd be astounded. But he's on course for a goal every 2 games at the minute. What's not bad at all, is it? So I think we've got every chance. We've got a goal scorer, which at this level is, what you need to get out of the division. Let's just hope the back line can shore up. Ultimately, the few losses we've had, a 17-year-old in there. We've had a holding midfielder at right back. Once we've got our full strength team out, which, may never happen, but I hope it does at some point. Once we've got Hyman, Warton, Britton in there, solid back line, and then going forwards, we've got the likes of Dak and Diaz and Hedges. Hopefully Hurst can come good. I think we've got a decent team at this level, a really decent team, and let's just hope we can get that sooner rather than later, that full strength team.
I agree, of course. And before I give it to Haben to sing us out, I'm going to, of course, big shout out to Blue Rose Capital for sponsoring this podcast. And yeah, Alex, how's your singing lungs? How is it doing right now? Are you on about? Give us a song as we leave.
I don't know. You'll have to be the judge. Okay. I've been a wild rover for many's the year, and I've spent all my money on whiskey and beer. But now I'm returning with gold in great store, and I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more.